Turn back now to the deadly flooding in Texas, where the search continues this morning for the more than 160 people who are still missing. President Trump is set to meet with survivors and first responders there later today as the community mourns the scores of victims. Texas Governor Greg Abbott had already called for a special session of the state legislature prior to the flooding. But now lawmakers will address the disaster relief and preparedness in the aftermath of the catastrophe. And there's another item on the agenda that is rattling Democrats across the state: congressional redistricting, a move that our next guest calls disgusting political gamesmanship at a time when Texas is reeling. Joining us now from Dallas, chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, Kendall Scudder. Good to have you on the show this morning, Kendall.
Kendall, thank you so much. While we're doing two things at once, it's the same thing that happened after Katrina. It's to a Republican president, a Democratic mayor, and a Democratic governor in Louisiana. It's the same thing that happens after every event. You ask if there's something more that could have been done when it seems obvious that there is. We keep getting reports, a new one out this morning, that officials, Texas officials, said there's going to be another flood in Kerr County, most likely within the next year, and warning devices would be called for, and yet they didn't do anything. In fact, they haven't done anything for the past 10 years, despite the fact that the state has this massive rainy day fund that could have very easily been used and at least given so many of those people a chance to survive. What happened? Like, why didn't they listen to all of the warnings over the past decade?
Well, and it's not just the Texas Rainy Day Fund that could have been used. There were funds passed down by the Biden administration, put in the bank accounts of Kerr County government, and they sent it back because they didn't want money from Biden to do it. So as a result, there are people on the ground there who didn't get the appropriate warnings that they should have because we had a significantly underfunded National Weather Service. There were completely vacant positions that should have been alerting people and giving people those warnings. I think as time moves on, we're going to get more and more information that'll trouble people on what could have been there. The reality right now is that what's happening is Republicans for years have worked to discredit and dismantle these governmental systems that were created to help people. And now they're seeing what happens when those programs don't exist. They existed for a reason. It was because people were depending on them to save their lives in situations just like this. And instead of taking this to the legislature to deal with it now, they're masking it or using it to mask things like redistricting, and they're going to turn the state into a political circus instead of getting people what they actually need to help their communities.
Let's follow up on that point just now, Kendall, about redistricting. Because then again, let's keep in mind here, the tragedy is first and foremost the response to it. But you just mentioned it. There's a political nature undercurrent here as well that the governor's trying to push through. Tell viewers what that is and why you feel it's so concerning.
Yeah, so when a lot of people think of Texas, they think of this deep red Republican state. But what they fail to realize is that the second largest deliverer of votes to Democrats in the last election came from Texas. There are a lot of Democrats in Texas, and Texas Democrats make up a large chunk of the Democratic delegation to Congress. So what they're trying to do is redraw the maps in Texas to take 4, maybe even up to 8 seats away from Democrats in Texas, which would rob the entire country from the opportunity to hold Trump accountable in the 2026 primary. They're using this bogus letter from Trump's attorneys at the Justice Department to try to claim that minority-protected seats are unconstitutional, which we all know through the Civil Rights Act that is not true. But if they succeed in Texas courts and go up to the U.S. Supreme Court that is largely appointed by Trump and succeed there, they would put a spear through every minority district in the country and then just start peeling away. We could have a wider United States Congress than pre-Reconstruction.
It's interesting, and you've said this before, but it's so true. Political parties that are doing well they don't redistrict like before midterms. So what is the Republican governor of Texas so scared of that he's engaging in this sort of political gamesmanship in the middle of a Texas tragedy?
Catastrophe.
If you look at the political trajectory of Texas, it has been trending towards Democrats. We had a bit of a setback in the last election, okay? I get it. But if you look at the last 10...
And why did you? Can I ask you that question? Because it's so fascinating, because everybody's been looking at Texas. Texas is going to go blue. Texas, and it was like 13, 9, 5, and then Donald Trump had a massive win. Ted Cruz did well. Democrats got wiped out along the border. What happened? And because of that happening, again, I guess it surprises me so much that the governor is going to be playing politics while you have this search and rescue event and this unspeakable tragedy still unfolding in his state. You'd think he would have the good sense to push this off, but why is he so desperate, given how well Donald Trump did in Texas just last year?
Well, don't ever look for good sense in Greg Abbott, okay? The reason the state moved backwards is a conglomeration of different ideas. I mean, we struggled across the country in the last election, but also we saw 1/5 of our Democratic voters in Texas stay home and say that Democrats weren't worth voting for. If you put them in focus groups, they'll say things like the Democrats don't fight hard enough, they negotiate away the things that are important to us. And I think that Texas Democrats need to get back to our roots of Lyndon Johnson and Sam Rayburn, big, bold, progressive ideas that make Democrats want to show up and vote for them. And because we have new leadership now at the Texas Democratic Party, we've been building a grassroots apparatus in every corner of the state. There's a new energy here in the last 100 days since that has happened. I think Greg Abbott is running scared. I think they're worried about what's going to happen there, mixed with the fact that Republicans are going to nominate a certified garbage person as their nominee for the United States Senate here in Texas, and that's Attorney General Ken Paxton. And when they do, Democrats will have the absolute best opportunity to flip a United States Senate seat in Texas in my lifetime. And I think Republicans know that. They're running scared, and they're going to try to carve up Texas and put a spear through the minority district protections to the best of their ability and try to, if it's successful in Texas, they're going to try to do it all across the country. And so everyone in the country should be interested in what's happening in Texas, and we all have to do everything that we can to stop them from doing it.
Boy, I really wish they would. I really wish they'd put this off while this tragedy continues to unfold. The timing just sounds absolutely terrible.
All right, Chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, Kendall Scudder, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. Come back. We appreciate
Thank you all so much for having me.
Analysis. All right, take care.